10 rock legends, combined age over 830 years. Every single one of them still breathing in 2026. You know the myth, the warning your parents gave you. Rock and roll kills young. Live fast, die at 27. Burn out, don't fade away. These 10 said no to all of that, and what they're doing at their ages will rewrite everything you thought you knew about rock stars and mortality. Let's count them down. Number 10, Roger Daltrey, 82 years old.
Oh, I was just a boy.
Roger Daltrey, 82 years old. Born March 1st, 1944, during a World War II bombing raid in West London. And if you've been following The Who lately, you already know this one stings a little different, because in March 2026, during a charity show at London's Royal Albert Hall, Daltrey stood in front of a packed house and told them the truth. The joys of getting old mean you go deaf. I also now have got the joy of going blind. Fortunately, I still have my voice.
It all away. I was just a boy.
Then he joked, because of course he did, that if he lost his voice too, he'd be pulling a full Tommy. Deaf, blind, and mute, just like the character he immortalized in 1969. The crowd didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but here's what gets me about that moment. Daltrey didn't say it like a goodbye. He said it like a fact. And then he kept singing.
I know better now. Giving it all away.
That's who Roger Daltrey is at 82, the guy who formed The Who at 16 in a youth club in Shepherd's Bush, the guy who made his first guitar out of a block of wood because his family couldn't afford one, the guy who once got expelled from the band for punching Keith Moon, then got let back in a week later because they realized they couldn't do it without him. He sang My Generation in 1965. Hope I die before I get old. 40,000 teenagers screamed it back like a prayer. 61 years later, he's still here, still touring, still swinging that microphone by its cord like he did in 1967. And if you've ever watched something you built with people you loved slowly fall apart, first Keith Moon in 78, then John Entwistle in 2002, you know the weight of being the last one standing.
Giving it all away.
Daltrey and Pete Townshend wrapped their North American farewell tour in 2025. He told The Times, "My dreams came true, so listen, I'm ready to go at any time. My family are all great and all taken care of. You've got to be realistic." But he's not gone. Not yet. At 82, with failing vision and a voice that's still bloody loud, Roger Daltrey is living proof that getting old isn't the enemy. Giving up is.
Better now. I know better now.
Number 9, Keith Richards, 82 years old.
This is no way for me to get along. Yeah.
Keith Richards, also 82, born December 18th, 1943. And I know what you're thinking. How is Keith Richards still alive? The internet's been asking that question for 30 years. The jokes write themselves. Keith Richards will outlive us all. When the apocalypse comes, it'll just be Keith and the cockroaches. There's even a running gag that Keith has a portrait in an attic somewhere, aging while he stays frozen in time. But here's the truth nobody talks about. Keith Richards in 2026 isn't the Keith Richards of 1972. He's not stumbling through recording sessions. He's not nodding off mid-interview. He quit heroin in the late 70s. He's been relatively clean for decades. What he is now is honest. In March 2026, In Guitar World published an interview where Richards admitted something most guitarists would never say out loud. Arthritis is making his fingers stiffer. He's playing fewer notes, slower riffs. "I'm not as fast as I used to be," he said plainly. That's a gut punch for anyone who's heard him play. Keith Richards defined the Rolling Stones sound, that open G tuning, that weaving rhythm guitar style he learned from Chicago blues. The riff to Satisfaction came to him in his sleep in 1965, and he woke up just long enough to record it on a cassette player by his bed. 61 years later, his hands are telling him there are limits. But here's what matters. The Rolling Stones are still recording. They released Hackney Diamonds in 2023, their first album of original material in 18 years. And Richards is still in the studio, still writing, is still finding ways to make his guitar sound like Keith Richards, even when his body won't cooperate. Because that's the thing about Keith. He's never been about flash. He's never been the fastest guitarist. He's been about rhythm, about feel, about the ancient art of weaving two guitars together so you can't tell where one ends and the other begins.
I'm doing time, living here without you.
At 82, with arthritis slowing him down, he's still doing that, just differently. And if you've ever had to adapt to a version of yourself that can't do what it used to, whether that's your body, your career, or your life, you know that takes a different kind of strength. Keith Richards is rewriting the myth one more time. Rock and roll doesn't have to kill you. Sometimes it just asks you to slow down.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
Number 8, Mick Jagger, 82 years old. Mick Jagger, 82 years old. Born July 26, 1943. If Keith Richards is the one who refuses to die, Mick Jagger is the one who refuses to age. Let me put this in perspective. In 2019, Jagger had heart valve replacement surgery. He was 75. The doctors told him he'd need months to recover. He was back on stage 8 weeks later, running across stadium floors like he was 30. In 2024, at 81, he was still touring stadiums. 90-minute sets, no sitting, no breaks, just Mick Jagger doing what Mick Jagger has done for 60 years, owning every square inch of the stage. And here's what nobody talks about. Mick Jagger is a student of longevity. He doesn't party anymore. He works out for hours every day, running, swimming, ballet, yoga. He eats a strict diet. He studies his body like it's a machine. Because at his age, it is. There's a discipline to Mick Jagger that people miss when they see him strutting on stage. This isn't luck. This isn't genetics. This is a guy who decided in his 40s that if he was going to keep doing this, he had to treat it like a job. And the result, at 82, Mick Jagger can still sing Satisfaction and make it sound dangerous. But here's the part that gets me. Mick Jagger has 8 children, 5 different mothers. His youngest daughter was born when he was 73. He became a great-grandfather in 2014. Think about that for a second. The guy who sang I Can't Get No Satisfaction in 1965, the anthem of youthful frustration, is now watching his great-grandchildren grow up. And he's still on stage, still writing, still recording. The Rolling Stones released Hackney Diamonds in 2023. And Mick's voice on that album sounds like Mick, not like an 80-year-old trying to sound young, like Mick. If you've ever wondered what it takes to stay relevant for 6 decades, here's your answer. You don't chase youth. You become something else, something better. At 82, Mick Jagger isn't trying to be the rebellious 20-year-old who shocked parents in 1964. He's being the guy who proved that rock and roll doesn't have an expiration date. It just requires discipline. Number 7. Paul McCartney, 83 years old. Paul McCartney, 83 years old, born June 18th, 1942. If you're keeping track, that makes him the last surviving Beatle who's still actively performing. Ringo's still here too. We'll get to him. But Paul's the one who never stopped. And I mean, never. In March 2026, Paul announced 2 intimate shows at the Fonda Theater in Los Angeles, 1,200 people. That's it. For a guy who sold out stadiums for 50 years, that's like playing in someone's living room. But here's why it matters. Paul McCartney at 83 is still curious. He's not coasting on Hey Jude and Let It Be. He's working on a new solo album, his first since 2020. He's experimenting with sound. He's writing new music. And if you've ever seen Paul live, you know something most people don't. He still plays for 3 hours, no breaks. He switches between bass, guitar, and piano like he's 25. And his voice, it's not the same as 1965, but it's still there. That's not normal at 83. But here's the part that gets me. Paul McCartney has lived through everything. He watched John Lennon get murdered in 1980. He lost Linda to cancer in 1998. He lost George Harrison to cancer in 2001. He's buried his best friends and his wife. And he kept playing because for Paul, music isn't a career. It's oxygen. It's the thing that kept him alive when grief tried to kill him. In a 2024 interview, Paul said something that stuck with me. I don't think about legacy, I think about the next song. At 83, Paul McCartney is still thinking about the next song. And if you've ever lost people who made you who you are, if you've ever had to figure out how to keep going when the people who knew you best are gone, you understand what that takes. Paul McCartney didn't just survive the Beatles, he survived being a Beatle. And that might be harder. At 83, he's still writing, still performing, still proving that the music doesn't end when the band does. Number 6, Bob Dylan, 84, turning 85 in May 2026. Bob Dylan, 84 years old. He'll turn 85 on May 24th, 2026. And as of April 2026, he's on tour. Again, let that sink in. Bob Dylan, who started his career in 1961, who wrote Blowin' in the Wind when Eisenhower was still president, is currently playing 42 shows across North America. He calls it the Rough and Rowdy Ways Tour. It started in 2021. It was supposed to end in 2024, but Bob keeps adding dates. Spring 2026, summer 2026. He just announced 7 shows in California in June at 84. And here's the thing about Bob Dylan in 2026. He's not doing nostalgia tours. He's not playing the hits for retirement money. He's playing new material. He's reworking old songs so they sound completely different. If you go to a Bob Dylan show expecting to sing along to Like a Rolling Stone, you're going to be confused, because Bob Dylan at 84 is still creating, still evolving, still refusing to be the Bob Dylan you remember. His voice is weathered now. It's gravelly and delicate at the same time. But when he sings Graceland, a song about heaven, about mortality, it hits different coming from an 84-year-old man who stared down death more times than most of us can count. And if you've ever felt like the world wanted you to stay the same, to be the version of yourself people remember, you know how hard it is to say no to that. Bob Dylan has been saying no to that for 60 years. At 84, he's still traveling, still writing, still playing theaters and small venues where people can see his face. And the reviews from his 2026 shows say the same thing. He's not trying to sound young, he's trying to sound true, and that's harder. Bob Dylan will turn 85 in May, and based on his tour schedule, he'll probably be on stage somewhere when it happens. Number 5, Art Garfunkel, 84 years old.
Because of vision softly.
Art Garfunkel, 84 years old, born November 5th, 1941. And if you know the Simon and Garfunkel story, you already know this one's complicated, because Art Garfunkel's alive. He's 84, but he hasn't performed publicly in years, and that's not by choice.
And the sign said the words of the prophets are.
In 2010, Art developed vocal cord paresis, a nerve issue that affects singers. He and Paul Simon were supposed to tour together that year, their first reunion in decades. They canceled everything. Art spent years trying to recover. He did interviews saying he hoped to sing again. He worked with vocal coaches. He tried everything.
Creeping, left its seeds while I was.
And in 2024, he finally did it. He recorded an album with his son called Father and Son. His voice is different now, softer, more fragile, but it's there. Here's what gets me about Art Garfunkel. He's spent the last 15 years grieving something most people wouldn't understand. He didn't lose his voice to cancer. He didn't lose it to age. He lost it to a nerve that just stopped working. And for a guy whose voice was his entire identity, that soaring tenor on Bridge Over Troubled Water, those high harmonies on The Sound of Silence, losing that is like losing a limb, but Art Garfunkel is still here. He's still creating.
Of silence, fool said I.
And in 2024, he and Paul Simon had lunch together for the first time in over a decade. Art told the Sun he cried, "I felt I had hurt him, but there were hugs." At 84, Art Garfunkel is learning what a lot of us have to learn eventually. The thing you were known for might not be the thing you are. And letting go of that, letting go of the version of yourself the world remembers, that's its own kind of survival.
And the people back.
Art Garfunkel didn't fade away because his voice did. He's still here, still writing poetry, still reading. He's cataloged every book he's read since 1968, over 1,000 now. Still painting, still living. At 84, Art Garfunkel is proof that you can lose the thing that defined you and still find a way forward.
Take my arms that I might reach you.
Number 4, Paul Simon, 84 years old. Paul Simon, 84 years old, born October 13th, 1941. And unlike Art, Paul never stopped. In 2018, Paul Simon announced his retirement from touring. He called it the Homeward Bound, the Farewell Tour. He said, "I've often wondered what it would feel like to reach the point where I'd consider bringing my performing career to a natural end. Now I know. It feels a little unsettling, a touch exhilarating, and something of a relief." So Paul Simon retired at 76. Most people would call that a good run. But here's the thing. Paul Simon didn't retire from music. He retired from touring. In 2025, at 83, Paul played a one-off show in Minneapolis. Reviewers said his voice had changed. It's weathered, delicate, the falsetto's gone. But when he sang The Sound of Silence in Graceland, people cried, because Paul Simon at 84 isn't trying to recreate 1965. He's trying to figure out what these songs mean now. When you're 84, when you've buried your friends, when you've outlived most of your generation in Graceland, that song about Elvis, about heaven, about believing we'll all be received, hits different when it's sung by a man who's genuinely wondering if that's true. Paul Simon has always been the most cerebral of the rock gods. He studied English at Queen's College. He's a poet who happened to play guitar. His lyrics aren't just clever, they're architectural. The Boxer, America, Bridge Over Troubled Water. Every line does three things at once. And at 84, he's still, riding, still thinking, still trying to figure out what comes next.
There were times when I was so lonesome, I took some comfort.
Here's what I think about when I think about Paul Simon. He wrote The Sound of Silence when he was 21, a song about loneliness, about disconnection, about people talking without speaking. 63 years later, that song means something completely different because Paul Simon is 84 now, and the silence he's singing about isn't metaphorical anymore. It's real. It's the silence of being one of the last ones left. Number 3, Ringo Starr, 85 years old. Ringo Starr, 85 years old. Born July 7th, 1940. And if you're wondering how Ringo Starr made it to 85, here's the secret. He chose to. Let me explain. Ringo Starr almost didn't make it past childhood. At 6 years old, he spent a year in the hospital with complications from a burst appendix. At 13, he contracted tuberculosis and spent 2 years in a sanatorium. The doctors didn't think he'd survive. He survived. Then in the 1960s and 70s, Ringo lived the rock star life. Drinking, pills, all of it. By the 1980s, he was what he later called a drunk, a wife beater, and an absent father. And in 1988, Ringo checked himself into rehab, cold turkey, and he never went back. How at 85, Ringo Starr has been sober for 37 years, and here's why that matters. Ringo didn't just survive the Beatles. He survived after the Beatles. He survived the part where John got murdered, where George got cancer, where the world kept asking him what it felt like to be the drummer in the greatest band that ever existed. And instead of drinking himself to death over it, Ringo decided to live. In March 2026, Ringo announced a new studio album called Long, Long Road. It's set to drop in April. He's 85, and he's still recording. He's also still touring. His all-star band has been going since 1989, 37 years of rotating lineups, different musicians every tour, all of them legends in their own right. And Ringo's the constant, the guy in the middle, still hitting the drums, still singing Yellow Submarine, and with a little help from my friends. At 85, Ringo Starr's attitude is simple. I'm 24 in here, he says, pointing to his head. The beat goes on, and you're here as long as you're here. And if you've ever had to rebuild yourself after burning your life down, if you've ever had to choose between staying broken and doing the hard work to get sober, you know that's not luck, that's will. Ringo Starr is 85 because he decided to be 85. And every year since 2008, on July 7th, Ringo asked the world to stop at noon and think peace and love just for a moment, just to remember that kindness matters. At 85, Ringo Starr is living proof that survival isn't about being the strongest, and it's about knowing when to ask for help. Number 2, Grace Slick, 86 years old. Grace Slick, 86 years old, born October 30th, 1939. And if you're surprised Grace Slick is still alive, you're not alone. She's surprised too, because Grace Slick in the 60s and 70s was the embodiment of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. She was the voice of Jefferson Airplane, White Rabbit, Somebody to Love. That soaring, powerful contralto that defined psychedelic rock. She sang at Woodstock at 6 a.m., a set that was supposed to start at 9 p.m. the night before but got delayed. She walked on stage and told the crowd, "All right, friends, you have seen the heavy groups. Now you will see morning maniac music." And she lived that life. LSD, alcohol, affairs with 3 different band members. Jefferson Airplane imploded, partly because Grace couldn't stay sober long enough to perform. In 1978, during a tour of Germany with Jefferson Starship, Grace was too drunk to get on stage opening night. The show was canceled. Fans rioted. They burned the stage, stole the equipment. Grace was kicked out of the band. But here's what happened next. Grace got sober. And in 1990, at 51 years old, she retired from music completely. She hasn't performed live since. She hasn't recorded since 2010. And at 86, Grace Slick is painting. She's a visual artist now. She paints portraits of her old bandmates, Jorma Kaukonen, Jack Cassidy, and musicians like Jerry Garcia and Janis Joplin. Her work has been in galleries. People buy it. And in interviews, Grace is blunt about why she stopped. "I didn't want to be a parody. I didn't want to be some 60-year-old woman trying to sound like she's 25. At 86, Grace Slick has made peace with something most rock stars never figure out. You don't have to keep performing to matter. You don't have to keep singing the same songs at 80 that you sang at 25. You can just stop and do something else." Grace Slick is alive because she knew when to walk away. And if you've ever stayed in something too long, a job, a relationship, a version of yourself that stopped working, you know how hard that is. At 86, Grace Slick is proof that sometimes survival means quitting while you're ahead. Number 1, Willie Nelson, 92 years old.
What is good?
Willie Nelson, 92 years old, born April 29th, 1933. Let me say that again, 92. Willie Nelson is older than rock and roll itself. He was born during the Great Depression. He was 21 when Elvis had his first hit. He was 32 when the Beatles broke up. And in April 2026, Willie Nelson just announced a new tour. He's playing dates in Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina. He's headlining his annual 4th of July picnic in Austin. And in May, he's dropping his 79th solo studio album, Dream Chaser, which includes a co-write with Bob Dylan. At 92.
Never took the time.
Here's what you need to understand about Willie Nelson. He's not surviving despite his age. He's surviving because of his music. His daughter Amy said it best. "I think it's literally keeping him alive." Willie has emphysema. He survived COVID-19. He's canceled shows for health reasons, and every time he does, death rumors start circulating. AI-generated photos of Willie on a ventilator, fake news sites declaring he's gone.
I should have said and done.
And every time, Willie posts a photo of himself on a couch with the caption, "If you believe those AI death stories one more time," because Willie Nelson refuses to stop. Not because he needs the money, not because he's chasing fame, but because he doesn't know how to not play music. He's been performing since he was 10 years old. That's 82 years of playing guitar, of singing, of writing songs. It's not a career anymore. It's who he is. And here's the part that gets me. Willie has outlived almost everyone he came up with. Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash. Chris Christopherson just passed in late 2024. His sister Bobby, his pianist for decades, died in 2022.
I guess
Willie told The New Yorker, "I've lost a lot of friends. I am one of the last ones. I don't know why I'm still here, but here we are. Last man standing." At 92, Willie Nelson is the last living member of the Highwaymen, the last survivor of the outlaw country movement, the last connection to a version of music that doesn't exist anymore. And he's still writing, still recording, still touring, still showing up.
Girl, I'm sorry I was blind.
If you've ever wondered what it takes to make it to 92, not just alive, but still doing the thing you love, here's your answer. You don't stop. You don't retire. You don't slow down because someone tells you you're too old. You just keep playing because the music is the only thing that's real. In the 92, Willie Nelson is proof that longevity isn't about luck. It's about love. Love for the work. Love for the people. Love for the thing that keeps you breathing, and Willie's still breathing.
Oh, me.